So what's the latest on this stimulus check? Weren't we all supposed to get that $1,200 second stimulus check? What happened? Well, in this video, we're going to be breaking down the latest on the stimulus bill negotiations, including where we stand with the next round of stimulus checks. We're also going to be talking about a proposal from a prominent billionaire to give every American household $1,000 every 2 weeks for the next 2 months. Before we get into it, be sure to give a like to the video and comment below. How is the economy to you? How are you doing right now in this economy? My name is Kevin Conway. I make stimulus news update videos and personal finance videos all the time. So subscribe to the channel if you're new and you want to see videos on money having to do with credit cards, how to invest in stocks, how to invest in real estate, and really everything in between. Now let's get right into it. We've had some exciting recent developments with the stimulus bill talks as of late, but one of the more interesting ones is actually not from a politician at all. It is from Mark Cuban. Yes, that Mark Cuban, the owner of the Dallas Mavericks and a shark on Shark Tank. What's interesting is Mark Cuban seems to be more or less a centrist type of person. He's not really a politics kind of person, but he put forward this interesting proposal, and who knows, it may gain steam because it follows actually a proposal that was given out a few months ago. So basically what Mark Cuban said is we should give every single American household $1,000 every 2 weeks for the next 2 months. Households must spend this money, they cannot save it, so it goes right back into the economy. The theory is the more you spend, the more businesses have in demand and the more employees they have to either retain or hire. This is estimated to cost around $500 billion to do because it essentially is just like the stimulus check proposal that was already passed back in March, except multiplied a few times. Now, the reason I'm detailing this isn't because Mark Cuban is a politician. Obviously, he is not. It's because it mirrors a proposal from Senator Kamala Harris, who is currently running as the vice presidential nominee on the Democratic side of the ticket. Now, while Senator Harris's proposal went basically nowhere a few months ago when she was just a senator, now she's a vice presidential nominee. And with Mark Cuban supporting this idea, someone who is more centrist, and Kamala Harris, a Democrat, it seems to be the case that there's going to be a lot more discussion about seriously providing continued stimulus, at least for the next few months. And all of that may come about with the recent development in the House of Representatives. We just got word a few days ago that the House has begun restarting negotiations with the White House, with the Democrats drafting a new round of stimulus bills, all wrapped into a $2.4 trillion new stimulus package. The focus in this House of Representatives bill is going to be on direct stimulus payments, that is stimulus checks, expanded unemployment insurance benefits, expanded paycheck protection loan programs, the PPP that was so popular that gave money to businesses, as well as additional stimulus for certain industries such as airlines. Originally, the House of Representatives proposed the HEROES Act, a $3 trillion bill, which included all the things they're trying to pass this time, except a lot more, about $1 trillion more. Now, the Republicans put forward a skinny version of the bill a few weeks ago, a $500 billion version, which was actually blocked by Senate Democrats, so it went nowhere. So we had a $500 billion bill put forward by the Republicans, which was shot down, a $3 trillion bill put forward by the Democrats, which was also shot down. Now we have an additional $2.4 trillion bill being worked on by the Democrats in the House. And then we have President Trump, who said he supports a bill up to $1.5 trillion. If all that is hard to keep track of, you're not alone, because you have different parties and different branches in the government all saying different things. And what's really so frustrating is it seemed like just a few weeks ago, the Democrats and the Republicans both explicitly said and supported in legislation that they had drawn up additional stimulus checks. But right now, it seems to have gotten lost in the fray. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin, who is representing the Republican White House's interests in the negotiations with the Democrats, has actually said that he has spoken with Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House of the Democrats, and actually have spoken several times in the past few days. They are hoping to get another bill drawn up and passed. But the worry is that the Democrats and the Republicans are just too far apart on their priorities. Now, what's interesting is that both the Democrats and the Republicans have a high degree of incentive to pass something. Both parties have had their respective politicians that are up for re-election all write letters or express support for additional rounds of stimulus so that they can go back to their constituents and said that they did something. And just when you thought tensions on Capitol Hill couldn't get any greater, we have a new development which has added even more pressure to both sides to actually hold their grounds and not make an agreement with one another. Last week, Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed away. Now, Ruth Bader Ginsburg was appointed by a Democrat, Bill Clinton, a few decades ago, and her seat was known to be a left-leaning seat on the Supreme Court. As of right now, the Supreme Court is basically 5-4 with Republican appointees and Democratic appointees. However, the Republican appointees don't always vote in the same block, and sometimes one of them will go to the Democratic side in certain decisions, so that right now it's a relatively even split on the Supreme Court. Ruth Bader Ginsburg's passing actually changes the math dramatically. With her passing, the White House and the Republican-controlled Senate actually have the ability to fill her seat with the appointee of their choosing. Yesterday, President Trump nominated Amy Coney Barrett of the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals to replace Ruth Bader Ginsburg's seat on the Supreme Court. Now, I'm an attorney, so I actually find this very fascinating in its own right, but as it relates to the stimulus negotiations, here is how it impacts it. The nomination of Amy Coney Barrett onto the Supreme Court would change the math where the Republican appointees would have 6 seats and the Democrat appointees on the Supreme Court would only have 3. This would allow the Republicans to actually have a majority in basically all of the cases, even if they had one of their appointees actually switch sides and vote with the liberal bloc of the Supreme Court. This is another way of saying that this seat matters a ton, and the Democrats and the Republicans in the Senate both know that. There's a lot at stake here, and as a result, this is right before the election, which has just further added the stress to not working with one another. And so I think the nomination of Amy Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court will actually cause a rift even further on Capitol Hill and make passing another stimulus bill even less likely. Now, this is not a given. This does not mean for sure that we won't have another stimulus bill passed, but it does actually lower the chances of it happening. Of course, anything could change. Things change radically, and I want to hear your thoughts and whether or not you think that the nomination of a new Supreme Court justice will actually impact the math on the stimulus bill passing. Please let me know in the comments below. So that's about all for our update right now on the stimulus bill negotiations. If you want to stay informed, be sure to subscribe to the channel. I'll make new updates as they come along, and also be sure to check out my previous videos. I just detailed a really cool credit card that I myself am getting, and I always do banking reviews and investing reviews and everything else. So if you want to know about that, be sure to look at my other videos. With that being said, I'll see you next time. Thanks.